Flying Monkey. It's good to be back here. Did you have a good Thanksgiving? Yeah, I did. Yeah, no, I had family in town. It's the worst way to have Thanksgiving ever. My recommendation, if you want to have a good Thanksgiving, strippers. At least you can pay them to shut up. Hi, family. Here's the thing. I went to Nashville a couple weeks ago and I encountered one of the most fun things I've ever done, and it's really scary and hard to do, and I want to share it with you tonight. It's called a hell set. The way this works is the audience gives me suggestions for topics, and I take those topics and I make jokes out of them off the cuff. Okay, there's no way to prepare for it. That's why it's called a hell set. Does that sound like something you want to see tonight? Yeah! Awesome. So, if you'd like, yell out a topic or a question. We'll see how this goes.
Bill Cosby.
Not sure how much I like how you just raped my set with you. Glad we're starting off light. That's gonna go. That bodes well for the rest of the night. Here's the thing. We were talking about Bill Cosby last night. Several of my relatives really like Bill Cosby and things like that, and they were trying to decide if this could. Y'all know what's going on with Bill Cosby, right? Okay. Well, I'm gonna assume that the sarcastic no was not sarcastic, because fuck you. 20 women, according to People magazine, have said that Bill Cosby raped them. And they're not talking about how much they disliked Fat Albert. Which brings up a question. And it's a very obvious question. It's probably a question you thought of too as soon as you heard that. Which is, does he call his dick a Jell-O pudding pop? There's always room for Jell-O. So this is a great topic. Let's see how this goes further. Next topic. Ferguson. Okay. I'll simmer the fuck down. I handled Bill Cosby with a plum. Ferguson. Like, I know what you're talking about when you say Ferguson, but every time I fucking hear Ferguson out of context, I always think of, like, just the whitest dude. Just the whitest dude. Kind of apropos to the situation going on there, but just the whitest motherfucker. Like, you don't meet a guy named Ferguson who doesn't have a good 401k. If you want to know what the lie of the 7th hole at the nearest country club is like, or what the par is on hole 12, Ferguson's probably your man. Right? That's as much as I'm going to talk about Ferguson. Because I read the news and that's not a funny fucking situation. Next topic.
Rob Ford.
Rob Ford and sex. That's what I heard. Here's the thing. Y'all know who Rob Ford is, right? He's the mayor of, Toronto, who was a crack addict, and it doesn't matter. It's Canada. And it may feel like Canada outside right now. But this is still Alabama. Like, we don't know where we couldn't find Canada on a map. All we know is that it's somewhere north of fucking Tennessee. And that it's foreign, so they're like super special Yankees up there. Rob Ford is a mayor in Canada who notoriously gets really drunk and smokes the crack cocaine. And I know because we're in Alabama that I might need to point this out for one or two people. He's a big fat white guy. A very large, crackhead, white guy. Also a mayor. I think that sex with Rob Ford might be maybe the best sex you've ever had. I mean, having him as a mayor, probably not so good. But the fucking, that might be extraordinary. He's crazy. He is crazy and does drugs. He's gonna do some shit that you weren't expecting. He's gonna touch a spot that you weren't thinking he would touch. He's gonna make a move. He's gonna zig when you expected him to zag, and you're gonna nut everywhere. Oh. Sláinte. Honey Boo Boo. Holy fuck. A friend of mine works at a store here in town. He goes, guess who came into my store while I wasn't there today? And I said, who? And he showed me a picture. Honey Boo Boo. Honey Boo Boo went into a store here in town. And this store had cell phones in it. And she proceeded to take a selfie with every one of the cell phones. Oh, isn't that cute? Someone needs to kick her in the face with a sledgehammer. I know, that's not true, but who here thought that I was being literal? I was, according to the current definition from Webster's, I was literally not being literal. Figuratively. All four of the grammar Nazis in the audience. Should they have jokes for me? I really do get an epic rage boner whenever I fucking hear someone talk about Honey Boo Boo. Like, people go, oh, she's just you never hear people go, oh, she's just so wonderful and so cute, and I just fucking love her and all this. No, everybody who watches that show talks about how horrible that fucking show is. If you really hate it that much, stop watching it. This is not differential equations. It's basic arithmetic. Less viewers equals less future female Alabama-raised Rob Fords. That's... What's next? Because I'm not talking about Honey Boo Boo. Okay, you know how they say that like your last name had something to do with what like your family did in the past? Like if your name was Smith, your family may have been like blacksmiths or silversmiths or some shit like that, right? John Stamos, you think his family just didn't move a lot? You think they were just like, those fuckers can stand still? But they already had like an Adam Stand and a Margaret Still in town. And they were like, we gotta come up with a different way to... I mean, because they had 7 Johns, let's be honest. People are not very original. What's your name? I don't know. John, I guess. My mom named me Tom. What's the thing you always hear about, like, random people? Any Tom, Dick, or Harry. She didn't even get far into that before she was like, fuck it, yeah. He just scratched the surface and was like, good enough, fuck you, son. Welcome to the world. It's gonna hate you as much as I do. Alright, fuck John Stamos. Next.
ISIS!
What? ISIS. Look, here's the thing. Look, no, this is a serious topic, and I do think we need to discuss it because we're in so much danger right here, right now. And this is the danger that we're in. Okay? If your husband is blown apart by his godly relatives, and you're going to put him back together, make sure when you fashion his dick out of river clay, that you put it in a rated and properly inspected kiln to make that shit hard. Otherwise, godly Viagra. It's an Egyptian god joke. Because I felt that anthropologists in the audience were maybe a little jealous of the grammar Nazis from earlier and needed some love. I went to South Carolina a couple months back. I went to South Carolina. We had just got done moving my mom's stuff around and found this old sheriff's badge and a set of handcuffs. And we went up to South Carolina to see my aunt and my cousin. My aunt is the only one who remembers her grandfather, whose sheriff's badge and handcuffs it was. He was a sheriff's deputy in Mississippi in, like, I don't know, 1706. A long, long time ago, in a galaxy next door to this state. There is a parallel between Mississippi and Star Wars, and that is incest. So we went to South Carolina, and we brought the sheriff's badge and the handcuffs with us to give to my aunt because, I mean, that was her grandfather. She's the only one left alive who met the man. We figured this will be a nice thing to give to him. And we went there and we did the standard traditional meeting when my family gets together, which is we drink heavily. So we could tolerate each other for more than 3 minutes at a time. And I eventually remembered that I had the handcuffs and the sheriff's badge, and I handed the handcuffs to my cousin and the sheriff's badge to my aunt, and we started talking about how we found these things, and I was talking to my aunt, and I heard click, ow. Because my cousin had just handcuffed herself with handcuffs from Mississippi in the 1930s. Before I continue, I need to tell you a couple things about my cousin. One, she is not a stupid lady. My cousin is, in fact, very smart chick. She is currently at a major university in the Carolinas going for a PhD in marine biology. She is super intelligent. The other thing I need to tell you about her is she's a fucking moron. The first time I ever found those fucking handcuffs, I was like 9 years old and found them in a junk drawer and immediately ran to my mother and father and said, I found handcuffs, where's the key? I would like to play with them. And they said, there is no key. And I never fucking touched those handcuffs. So I said, oh shit, and went to the other room where the computer was and started. It took me about 2 hours to look up the information on how to pick a pair of handcuffs. And I came back in the room armed with two relevant pieces of information. One was how to pick a pair of handcuffs, and two was never try to pick a pair of handcuffs with a safety pin, which is what my aunt was doing when I walked back in the room. And before I could tell her, that might break, it broke. And the problem is now that if you can actually find a key, it might be jammed in there and you can't fucking unlock the handcuffs. So now you're fucked. And I turned to my cousin when she broke and I said, well, now we gotta go to the police station. And this is how white my cousin is. She started crying. She started crying. I didn't do anything wrong. Why do we gotta go? Look, I'm just saying, you're flying back home tomorrow, and the TSA doesn't listen for very long when you're trying to explain why you have handcuffs still around your neck. And the police department is probably the closest place I can think of that will have a handcuff key. To which my aunt said, well, there's a sex shop 3 blocks away. And I fucking kid you not, man, the Queen of England has never looked more regal Then when all of us turned jaws agape to my hand, a woo? And she said, well, I have needs. Apparently a lot of them. Good for her. So we went to the police station, and of course the fucking key that they had for those old style handcuffs wouldn't work because there was a fucking safety pin jammed in the goddamn lock. So they had to escort us to the fire station. This is a big ordeal. We went to the fire station. They took what was essentially a miniature Jaws of life to cut the handcuffs off of my cousin's wrist. And when I was driving her to the airport afterwards, she was still fuming about it, and I was like, what? You're still mad, talk to me. What was the worst part of that? Was it because we had to go to the fire department after? And she's like, nah, that wasn't that bad. I was like, okay, what? She goes, it was the way my mom had to tell the sex shop story everywhere we went. Thank you very much. Y'all been a great audience. My name's Tom Heck. Jonathan Craig back to the stage. Jonathan Craig.
All right, you guys give it up for Tom Hand. That shit was kind of impressive, when I'm not gonna lie.